Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and today we've got a very special guest. His name's Russell Carter, and he's from the Heartland Elderberry Farms. And, this is a guy who actually I'm interested in talking to because, as many of you know, I'm a formulator and I work with natural ingredients and finding good sources, especially today in this world where so much comes from China and other countries where they claim things and you have no idea what you're getting. To work with the farmers, to work with the people that are actually involved in the process is really important. So, Russell, without further ado, welcome to the show. How are you doing
Hey,
today?
Joe, I'm doing well. Appreciate you having us on.
Fantastic. So, I always like to start off an interview with sort of the Genesis story. So, why don't you tell us, elderberries, it's a thing that many of us natural guys know about.
Yeah.
It's a fairly common enough term, but, tell us about how you got involved in elderberries.
Yeah, for sure. So, it actually started with our business started with honeybees. Actually,
Okay.
we actually run two separate businesses. We have a commercial beekeeping operation as well as the elderberry farm.
Nice.
But So we started with bees about 10 years ago and kind of grew that. We're currently running about 450 hives,
Nice.
and 100% of the raw honey that we produce on our own farm goes into our elderberry syrup. So it's a
Nice.
great
Oh, love it.
vertically integrated company. So, but my family and I, even growing up as a kid, we were taking elderberries, but my mom and parents, my mom and dad were always like, let's go out and forage for them, right? So,
Nice.
as you, I'm sure, are aware, and most people are aware, elderberries grow wild.
Oh, yeah.
If you can find a nice patch of them away from any agricultural stuff like that, it's kind of like a free for all. It's kind of a secret. You don't want to tell anybody that's there.
Right. Exactly. But you do
And
just pick them off the tree and eat them, really, right?
we do it all the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you? Okay. I
Uh,
thought that they had to be processed.
so that is a that is the consensus that gets thrown around a lot.
Okay.
Okay. So
Love it.
I will say this: the studies kind of show the European variety of elderberry has a higher level of toxicity, the seeds do, than the American elderberries.
Okay.
Uh, and listen, I'm the farmer guy. I'm not the
Love it.
science guy. I'm not
Yeah,
the.
yeah.
Let's tell you what we do. We eat fresh elderberries when they're ripe, as we're picking them
Nice.
every single day for about 6 weeks. So,
I love it.
uh,
Love it.
and I'm still kicking. So,
Hey, you know what? Let the proof be in the pudding.
exactly.
I'm all about the experience as well as the science. So this is
Yep.
great.
So as a kid, we used to forage for elderberries, and my mom would always make elderberry jams, elderberry jellies, elderberry syrups for the cold and flu season
Hmm.
using fresh berries, right? So
Right.
she would press the juice and we'd make it. Well, as my wife and I got married and started having kids, we didn't really necessarily have the time to go do that, right? So
Right. Process.
what we started doing was we just bought what was commercially available, the Sambacals, the Mary Ruths,
Yeah, yeah.
all the brands out there that you've heard of.
Sure.
And it is so noticeably different of a product
Ah,
than what you'll get if you make it yourself with a fresh berry. So we started looking at that and we're like, what are the differences here? And time and time again, the first thing that we saw when we were looking at the ingredient labels on all of these packages, the first ingredient is water.
right.
Okay, so that was the first thing. So you're already starting with a diluted product,
Right.
and then we started really getting down the rabbit hole of it all, and really came to find out about 95%, 90 to 95% of every commercially available elderberry syrup on the market is first ingredient is water. Okay.
Yeah.
So and all of the listeners, if they're got elderberry in their cupboard, go just flip it over and look for yourself. And I would
Right. Right.
guarantee it's going to be water. So we were like, well, why is that? Like, what is the reason for the water? Because it just sounds to us like you're immediately
Berries
diluting.
have lots of water in them all by themselves, right?
Exactly. And why mess with what God gave us? Let's just keep it pure and simple and whatever. Well,
Right.
the answer is that elderberry farming is very, very niche in the United States.
Okay.
So there are very few what I would consider commercial elderberry farmers in the United States. But okay, so if you look at the elderberry syrup market, there are hundreds of small to medium to large manufacturers of elderberry syrup. Everybody from, somebody local that just makes it in their kitchen up to the Sambacals of the world, right?
Sure.
So where are all these people getting their elderberries if
Right.
nobody's growing it, right? So so
Pretty
the,
good
the,
question.
the answer was they're importing them, right?
Right.
So you are getting exactly what you said at the beginning of the podcast, Joe. You're
No,
getting an imported dehydrated berry that has been sitting on the shelf for who knows how long,
yeah.
and then they're bringing it over and they're producing it with a dehydrated berry. And
Right.
there's a couple problems with that we saw certainly. One, there's no standard for how much water to put into the product to reconstitute it.
Right.
So a lot of times when we have tried dozens of commercial elderberry syrups on the market. A lot of times we were finding it's just super watery.
Mhm.
What is going on here? So it just seemed very diluted to us. The second problem with that is the minute you dehydrate a berry, it loses up to 30% of the nutritional value of the berry.
Right.
So
Just like cooking it. You are cooking it, really. Yeah.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So it really was an inferior product. So that kind of brings us to the elderberry. We already had the honey, right? We had plenty of honey. So
Yeah.
I told my wife, I said, I'm just going to make a small planting of elderberries. We put 50 plants in the ground 6 years ago. And it was just for us, my immediate family, and friends that asked for it. We would provide them with elderberry syrup.
Hmm.
And when we started making that and kind of passing it out to family and friends, we couldn't make it fast enough.
Wow.
Man, this is the product I remember as a kid. This is what
Oh,
we
yeah.
this is the pure product that everybody was looking for, but it just
Yeah.
was not really commercially available. So since that year, we have been putting in the ground 2 to 3 thousand elderberry plants every year,
Nice.
and we have expanded into a second farm. And I just tilled up 3 acres of ground that's going to be
Oh,
planted next year. So
that is so exciting. Now, just as a point of reference, I'm down here in Southern California.
sure.
We have a plant that I've always called Mexican elder, and it's a kind of a scrubby tree, a tall bush. Not it makes a berry. It goes dormant early, like they're already starting to go dormant. They're one of the first things to get their leaves back on, usually in January. They'll put a berry out, but it's really small. Um, and usually by the time they get ripe, they're already starting to dry up. Is that a viable elderberry, or is that something that you wouldn't mess with?
Yeah, I know elderberry. That is not a plant that I am familiar with.
Got it.
Okay, so that is not the typical lifestyle or life cycle, I'm sorry, of the elderberry plant that we grow. We actually grow 6 varieties of elderberry,
Okay.
and we did a test plant of about 12 varieties and stuck with the six that grow the best around here. What's in Southern California, that very well could be an elderberry, but I will also tell you there are several look-alike plants. So you got to be a little careful about that because there are some that look very much like elderberry, but they're actually poisonous. So,
Ah, got it.
uh,
And I haven't ever eaten these. It's
okay,
like they grow wild. They seem to be pretty hardy. I'm like, well, it'd be neat if I could harvest these, but right now I just let them be. I'm learning more,
yeah,
and I don't just naturally go, oh, I think this is a thing. So what
right,
is like you're on the East Coast. Where exactly
yeah.
are you?
So we're actually in northern Indiana.
You're Midwest.
Yeah,
Okay.
Midwest. Yep,
All right.
yep.
And so you get snow in the winter, you
Oh
get
yeah,
a lot of rain in the summer, so you have a much different climate than we get. Uh,
yes,
what is the
yeah.
plant like? What kind of a plant is
It
it?
So yeah, different from the European variety. Actually, the European variety, which is what everybody is making their product with, it's more of a tree. It has a
Oh,
central
okay.
trunk, and it's more of a short, stubby tree. The American varieties that we grow off of a primocane system, and they're very similar to like a blackberry.
Oh,
They send up new shoots every year,
okay.
and then you get these clusters of berries. The berries themselves are about the size of a pea, so they are very, very small, but
Okay.
they grow in large clusters. And then once we harvest it, the plants die back and they go dormant in the winter.
They're smooth. They don't have any thorns or anything, so they're not
No,
like
that's
they're
correct. That's
in
correct.
that way. All right.
Yep.
Interesting. I'll do more research on that.
Yep.
They require a lot of water, or how do you take care of them?
100%. So yeah, you mentioned about the rain earlier.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, we generally get a lot of rain. Northern Indiana right now is actually, which you're probably like, oh, that's every year for us. We're actually in an exceptional drought right now. We
Right. Yeah,
just
that's our normal state of being.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly. That is not normal for Indiana to be in an exceptional drought. So
Got it.
it's been a very, very dry. So we have irrigation running to all of our plants.
Okay.
And in periods of dry drought like this, we're always watering. So
Got it.
yeah, they are a plant
So they're like a
loving.
regular berry in that sense. Most berries want a lot of water anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And where you're going to find the elderberries, if they're growing wild, primarily you'll find them in creek beds,
Hmm.
along ditches, stuff like that. It's because they really, really do like water. You almost can't water them enough. I mean, they can live in standing water for a period of time,
Wow.
and be totally fine. So yeah, they really need the water.
Interesting. And how do you harvest them? You just harvest them all by hand?
It's 100% by hand. So yeah,
Wow.
it's about a 6 week period. Our different varieties ripen at different times,
That makes it
and
nice.
yeah, it does. But it's still about 6 weeks, all hands on deck. We're out there picking them.
Wow.
So our process is we harvest in the morning. So we're picking
Okay.
them in the morning. In the afternoon, right after lunch, we switch to destemming. So
Okay.
we run them through a destemming machine. They are pressed that afternoon, and the juice that we have is frozen by night.
Nice.
So it is a very, very quick turnaround time. That's the other thing about elderberry is that they are such a fragile berry.
Uh-huh.
They really need very quick processing, and they will go bad real fast on you. If we would even wait 24 hours and just kind of leave them out, they
Get
would all
elderberry wine.
it would be a huge degradation of the quality of berry already. So it's a very quick process.
Now, freezing is really supposed to be one of the very best ways. They say buying frozen berries oftentimes is even more healthy than buying fresh berries because they're generally picked ripe and they got
Yes.
to be, like you said, they got to be frozen quick or they go bad. So you're getting peak of season harvest with a frozen berry where you don't have to
Yep.
do that early picking and let them ripen in the box or whatever.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So the only thing we have to watch out for is the birds. The birds love
Yeah.
the elderberries, and so we're out there before they do to kind of get the quality. But yeah,
That's
so
a good sign, though. If the animals like a thing, it's probably pretty good for you, right?
oh my goodness, yeah, we have every morning we have deer and everything else walking through our elderberry fields, munching on them.
Uh,
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
so in my products, I found the same thing that you did. You know, all the syrups are just full of water,
Yep.
and I find myself using what they call a concentrate,
Yeah.
and they'll call it, 4-to-1, 5-to-1, 10-to-1, and
Yeah.
it's more of a thick product, not quite a paste, but certainly not like you don't just pour it out. It comes out as a more thick product. Is that
Yeah. So the only I know exactly what you're saying. So even to get that concentrate, you have to put it through a pretty extensive process, a heating process to get that remove that water out of there. We really want to steer clear of that personally. So what we do with our product, it's only 5 ingredients. Okay, so
nice?
our elderberry syrup is 5 ingredients. It's the bottle is north of 80% pure elderberry juice. We also add in our raw honey from our farm, freshly pressed ginger, Ceylon cinnamon, and star anise. Those are the only 5 ingredients. We don't add any water, sugar, preservatives, and nothing. Okay, so it's about as pure of an elderberry syrup as you can. So saying
Honey
that,
actually acts as a preservative, right?
Yeah, to some extent it does. The high sugar content in the sugar or in the honey definitely does help with a little bit preserving it. So the only thickener that we have in our elderberry syrup is the raw honey.
Okay.
Okay, so in the raw honey, it's about 15% of the bottle. So
Okay.
that is the only thickener. So if you're comparing it to like a Sambucol or something like that that has thickeners, raw sugar, all this other stuff with it,
Oh,
it's
words you
not
can't pronounce. Yeah.
and that's really been an educational thing for us because a lot of folks will say the same thing to us, like, "Oh, it's not as thick as my Sambucol or some of these other varieties," and it's just more of an education thing. Well, look at the back of look at the ingredients. That right there, that's a thickener, stuff like that. So,
100%.
so it's not even that it's better. Thick does not translate to better necessarily.
Agreed. Agreed.
So,
Well, that's amazing. So, you you start out with bees, and I would love to have another conversation with you just about the bees because
sure.
that's certainly as important of an element, a totally different conversation. But
Yes.
with the honey, so are the bees pollinating your elderberries as well?
Yeah, elderberries are pretty self-pollinating as long as you have a cross-pollinator plant.
Okay.
So we alternate rows with cross-pollinators with each other. But the bees do
Kind of like
work.
blueberries where they grow one kind and then
Yep,
every so many plants they put a different one in there.
exactly right. Exactly. So the bees do work the elderberry flower, but bees are about what they pollinate. They want to go after the best nectar and the best pollen sources that they can, right?
Absolutely,
They're
yeah.
trying to get ready for winter and bulk up. So
Yeah.
um, elderflower does not have it has virtually no nectar quality to it.
Got it.
It
So they're
does
not
have
so interested in those trees.
they do have it does have pollen. So the
Right.
elderflowers do have pollen that the bees work. But yeah,
I've
there's a
noticed the same. I don't generally see a lot of bees. We have wild bees around here,
yeah,
and I look at the plants that the bees tend to hang out on, and they like the fruit trees. They like
for
the
sure.
plum trees and the peach trees, but I generally don't see them swarming around the elders
Yeah,
or
exactly.
whatever it is I have.
And it very well could be an elderberry plant. Yeah,
Yeah,
it just doesn't produce any nectar to speak of. It's level. You couldn't get a honey crop off of elderberry plants, and
got it. And
so
I've never heard of elderberry honey anyways, so it makes sense. Yeah,
and that's probably why.
yeah.
But so yeah, they work them a little bit, but it's just kind of sporadic.
So when you decided to do this, like you went from growing bees to, gee, it'd be nice to have this elderberry syrup like we used to let's plant some elderberries. That's
Yeah.
a big leap from that to I got a commercial farm and we're making a product. So why don't you tell us about how you went from one to the next?
Yeah, for sure. So I was actually while I was running the bee business and growing that, I was actually working full time in a corporate position.
I imagine,
And
yeah.
so I when the bee business got to a level where um it was just no longer like I can't do both mentality.
Hmm.
I ended up leaving that corporate position and just pursuing the bee business. And I did that for about 4 years, just strictly on the bee business. And then when we started the elderberry planting and that just grew so rapidly, it was like the biggest light bulb moment ever that
Nice.
there is such a market for this. And it's a market that it was like people, folks want elderberry syrup
Yeah,
and they're buying elderberry syrup at really a record pace. I mean, especially since I hate to bring it up, but COVID, there was a lot of folks were looking for alternative ways to stay healthy. They don't necessarily want to go and, do vaccines and everything else. They're looking for natural remedies.
sure.
So that really gave elderberry syrup a boost, and it also gave a lot of studies. A lot of studies came out during COVID about elderberry syrup and the benefits of it. So it was kind of just this moment of um, this epiphany of like, man, if we like this elderberry so much, and we
Right.
just kept growing. So, like I said, the second year we only had 50 plants in the ground the first year, and
Okay.
the second year we did 3,000 plants. So,
Wow.
and
Wow.
like I said, we're doing thousands of plants every year, and we almost cannot keep up with the demand because once people are starting to realize like there is a different level of quality of elderberry syrups, it's not even a selling thing. It's just an education thing. It's like if you can understand that, like what the differences are, it speaks for itself.
So most of your customers are just individuals that are just taking it for personal use, or do you have people like me that are formulators, make products with them?
Hi, this is Joe Grumbine, and I wanted to share an update. The platform that hosts this podcast has made some changes to the subscriber settings, and we have a number of subscriber-only episodes that we offer to the supporters. And for a minimum of $3 a month, we can get you signed up. And if you're already signed up and you're having some kind of trouble locating these episodes in the other platforms, I would say maybe the best answer is to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. I'm sorry for the hassle. I don't have any way to make a change, but I'm very grateful for all the support. Thank you.
I don't have any formulators. It's mostly just families, right? So
Okay.
we sell into we're on Amazon, Walmart. We have stores locally in Indiana, Northern Indiana, several stores we sell it to. Our own website is a great resource, and it can also be purchased on there. But
So how'd you get into Walmart? Now that's a market that you don't just walk into.
So it's actually on Walmart.com. So a little bit
Okay.
easy, at least much easier to break into Walmart.com and start
Got
selling
it.
on there than actually in stores. But so as of right now, we wouldn't even be able to keep up with Walmart
I
in
was
store
gonna
in
say
store
that's
anyways.
generally it's not a little farm product, and
Yeah, we'd have to have hundreds of acres at that point. So maybe we'll get there one day. But yeah,
sure.
we are super focused on maintaining the quality of this product, and
I love that.
that will never go away. I don't care if we have 500 acres of elderberries. The quality is going to be the same as it was when we made it for our own family, and that's going to stay the same. So
So now there's two elements, there's the farming and the harvesting of the food product
yeah,
and preserving it, and then there's manufacturing
big deal.
a food product. That's an entirely separate business with an entirely separate set of rules and
Yes.
equipment and expertise. So now that's a whole nother transition. So how'd you get from one to the other there?
Yeah, exactly. That was a big learning curve for us for sure. So to go from a small scale grower when I'm talking 50 plants
Right.
to over 25,000 plants is what I think we have in the ground right now. That is a big leap, and it doesn't happen overnight. So we actually partnered with the University of Georgia,
Oh, nice.
and in their department, and we did certified lab testing, shelf life
Right.
stability studies, and then just worked with them on manufacturing compliance, food products, and things like that. So they really
Wow, what a blessing.
really they helped guide us through the entire process of making sure
Wow.
that our product is shelf stable as long as it needs to be and that we're manufacturing it to the standards that we need to.
Oh, that's amazing. So how did they approach you? Did you reach
No,
out to
we went to them. Yeah,
Okay.
the University of Georgia actually has a department that are they're very familiar with elderberry specifically.
Oh, okay.
So they've got a couple projects working on the research side of elderberries, kind of just scratching the surface on what elderberry can do and what the benefits to the body and stuff like that. But then they also have in that same department they also kind of teach you how to preserve it, just different things like that, and
Oh,
how to manufacture.
that is fantastic. So your manufacturing facility, I assume you started out in your kitchen and like so many of us do, and then
Yep.
how did it go from there?
100%. Yeah, you nailed it. So we were making our first year batches just straight in our kitchen,
Right.
in a 15-gallon stainless steel tank, actually.
Yeah, I
Uh,
gotcha.
so yeah, from that and now we have a 400-gallon tank that we're running out of now.
Nice.
It's
All
still,
right.
we still do it here on the farm.
Nice.
It's just in a building that we had built for
I love
specifically for
it.
manufacturing. So
I love
yeah,
it. So
it's grown
it's
quite a bit.
mostly family, or are you hiring outside people now?
We,
How's your business structure?
during the harvest season,
Hmm.
it is we need as much help as we can possibly get. So yeah, we definitely hire during that 6 week window. The rest of the season, just manufacturing and stuff like that, it actually is almost all family.
Nice. I love that. So
So,
with things like, as again, I'm a small little cottage thing too. It's just me and my wife right now, and
yep.
we've grown and shrunk as things have needed to, but I've been battling my own health issues right now, so we shrunk back down again. It's just me and her making stuff. But the point is there's levels of, technology and equipment and expense that you can do. You can literally hand pour bottles, and then you can have a whole line that runs thousands of bottles an hour,
Yep.
and everything in between. So, what's been
Yeah.
your progression there?
Yeah, 100%. So you nailed it. So that 15-gallon tank that we had initially,
Right.
it was all hand poured, right? So
Sure.
every
I've never
bottle.
done that. I know it. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this is going to take forever. So, and it was fine for the first year or so, but then, when you're sitting down, like I need 500 bottles here.
Yeah. 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 You
That
get carpal tunnel going on pretty quick after a while.
it gets very, very tedious. So yeah, it just systematically we said, okay, what's next? Where's our current bottleneck? Let's
Yeah.
go get that piece of equipment. So from the larger tank sizes that we've had, and we have grown as we've needed to on that. We now have a full filling line. It's
Nice.
it's all automated,
I love
so
it.
the bottles all get filled. There's no is the least amount of hands that touch these bottles, the better for us because it
Absolutely.
just speeds up manufacturing. But
And probably has less mistakes too.
yeah, no doubt about it. So yeah, it's running pretty well, which is why we can really keep it in house and just keep it with the family at this point.
I
And
love that. And
so,
have you run into, like, I know that during COVID, I ran into a lot of supply chain issues, especially with things like containers and seals and things like that. Do you run into any of those problems?
not really with the containers.
Okay.
So yeah, we put everything in glass bottles,
Hmm.
and we always have about 5 pallets on hand at one time.
Nice.
We don't really like to go below that just in case we do run into issues. But there were longer lead times, but it was all we were always able to get the bottles when we needed them. But then the other thing is we produce all the elderberry juice, we produce all the honey. Uh,
Right. You
so
got
it's
most
like
of the supply chain right in your own back pocket.
And the funny thing is, the folks that are making it with the imported they were scrambling to try to find it because it's like everybody wanted, to make elderberry syrup,
Yeah.
and that was the only way they knew how to do it was these dehydrated berries. So luckily for us, we as growers, we kind of just had a steady supply coming in.
Do you ever get approached by people that want to make a similar product to buy your raw materials?
I have not, and I really wouldn't even have anything to sell them.
Oh, I wouldn't imagine you would. I just
You
am
know,
curious,
yeah, no, yeah,
So,
we are like this year, for example, we were like, okay, come on, berries, you got to get ripe here because we needed
right.
juice. We needed to restock that freezer because we were running pretty low on juice at that point. So, yeah, our business really has grown, thankfully so well in the last couple of years. It's our biggest challenge right now is keeping up with the demand and keeping enough elderberry juice on hand to satisfy the orders.
Wow, what a beautiful story. I love to hear success stories like this. You're living the dream. I mean, really, and your family, how many kids you got? I mean, how many people are involved in the operation here?
Yeah, my wife and I have 2 kids, but
Okay.
they're both too young to actually do any work.
Oh, okay,
Although,
so just you and the wife mostly.
well, yeah, it's me and my wife. I have my mom, I have a couple sisters,
Okay.
and I have some brother-in-laws. So,
All right.
yeah, we're staying pretty busy with keeping it in the family, and we
I love
haven't
it.
we still talk to each other, so that's a good thing.
I was gonna say, those kind of things either bring you closer together or send somebody packing. So that's
Yeah,
glad
exactly.
it's working out this way. Well, um, is there any kind of a central message that, you've brought a lot to the
Sure.
table, and I can't tell you how impressed I am that there are actually people out there committed to quality the way that you guys are. Like I said, as a formulator, I grow some of the ingredients, and I always say, look, I know what I grew and I know how I grew it.
Yeah.
And I can tell you the quality of that. But when I buy from another place, unless I've been to their farm and get to know the people, which I do best as I can,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, sure.
you can only do what you can do. And
Yes.
I always say outside of that, I do my best to source the best ingredients. But really, it's so refreshing to meet somebody who has that same sense of the importance of all this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I certainly appreciate that. I take that as a huge compliment. But yeah, like I said, we started this off as our family thing just to supply our family and we are not deviating no matter how big we ever get from that same level of quality. I think the last thing I would just leave with your listeners is if you're interested about elderberry syrup, if that's, I'm sure you probably most people have heard of it, whether they've
Sure.
taken it or not, but if you've heard of elderberry syrup, we really made our website and designed it purposefully to be an educational one. So the website is just heartlandelderberryfarms.com. And it's really, we try to do a really good job of doing some comparisons between dried berries and fresh berries and the potency and just different things like that. So it's not just trying to sell anything. It's really more for an educational. But the other thing I would say is if you I challenge you to look at your own label. Like if you take elderberry syrup, just flip that label around. And if that first ingredient is water, then you know right then and there it's made with a dehydrated berry that's imported. So,
Right.
and I will just tell you, if that's the case, there are better options out there. Elderberry syrup, it's not the cheapest thing in the world. And while we really do strive to price it very competitively, even though we make it with pure juice, if you're going to buy it, maybe just most people want the best quality they can get. It's more potent. We've had it third party tested for potency, and it's through the roof in terms of just using water and dehydrated berry.
Well, I can tell you this. I'm going to locate a source and I'm going to purchase some and I'm going to make a batch of I make a respiratory support elixir
Yes.
and elderberry is one of the key components of it. And I'm going to make a batch with it and try it out for myself. So we do small batch things, so
Yep.
I'm right there with you. I'll let you know, but I suspect
Yeah.
I'm going to really notice a difference. Russell, it's been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation. I would love to come back and talk about your bees another time. Uh,
Sounds great.
but just thank you for being a part of our community here. And that's it. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, Joe, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate the conversation.
Fantastic. Well, this has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine. I want to thank our listeners for making this all possible, and we will see you next time. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.